What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we have question number 34 of the database management video series. So if you can remember in the previous questions, we discussed how to design the tables and we related all the tables that we have created in the previous question, that is question number 33. We related all the tables using one-to-many relations and all the relations we discussed in the previous question. In this question what we are going to do is we are going to enter data onto the tables that we have created. And we are not going to do this using graphical methods. That means, so when you are entering data, you can basically use the HSQL browser, HSQL software to enter the data, and you can create a row like this, and you can enter data manually. But in this video, we are not going to do that. What we are going to do is we are going to enter data manually using SQL queries. So for each and every question we are going to enter data using SQL queries. So in this question we have 6 parts, so we are going to enter all these data using SQL queries. Okay, so in the first question they are asking enter the data in the table below to the user type table. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to select our database like this. It doesn't matter if you select or not, you just have to search your table first. So this is the user type table. In the user type table we have the user type ID and the user type name, and here in the query section I am going to insert these data. So if you have been in touch with us, you know that you have to enter you have to use the insert keyword to enter data onto the table. So as the user type ID column is auto increment, you don't have to enter data onto that column. So what I have to do is insert into. Now you have to mention the database RLA choose enter dot, and you have to give the table name. Okay, user type. Then we have to open a pair of brackets, then put values, then close the brackets, then end the query with a semicolon. So in the first two brackets inside we have to give the column name in which we are going to enter data. So we are going to enter data to the user underscore type underscore name column, and the data we are going to enter is we have to mention the data inside single quotes. So employee. Okay, so you can either run it from here or you can simply press F9 in the keyboard. So I pressed F9 in the keyboard. So let's see what has happened to the table. So I took my table here. Now you can see I have automatically they have given the user type ID as 1 because we mentioned the column to have auto increment when we were designing the tables, if you can remember the previous questions. So however, the user type name has been assigned employee like this. Okay, small mistake here, there can't be 3 E's like this. Okay, so in the query section I have to enter another query to enter the next data. Okay, so insert into. So you can get suggestions like this using the control plus space shortcut. So I have to select my table, user type ID, then you have to user type, then you have to write it like this, then you have to mention the column name. So our column name is user underscore type underscore name. Okay, so our data is customer. Now let's check it again and just give it a quick refresh. So now we have the customer data entered to the table. So again, next I have to enter the other data, insert into our database earlier choose enter dot Now you have to give the table name, user type, then values, end it with a semicolon, the column name. So you have to give the column name inside gray basins, that means the slanted single quotes. And next we have to give the data, which is supply. Press F9. Now when you refresh it again, you have the supplier data entered. Okay. Next, so that is the end of the first question. Moving on to the next question. So enter the data onto the city table. Now you have to enter data like what we discussed in the previous question, that is question number 1. We have to enter data onto the city table. Okay. So you can either select it from the database, and you don't have to write it like this. Now you can, if you have selected the data, if you have selected the data table like this, you don't have to write RLA shoe center. You don't have to write it like this, because you have already selected it. But I wrote this database name because there are many databases here, and if you have not selected this from here, it's better if you mention the database name. So I have been practiced to write the database name, so I'm just going to keep up with my practice. So RLA shoe center dot, I have to give the table name. Now here in this case the table name is city, and open pair of brackets, values, semicolon. Okay. Next we have to give the column name. So my column name is city name. So we are not going to enter data onto the city ID table. Now my data is Colombo. Okay. So press F9 once you're done. Okay. So when I refresh it, you can see city ID 1 and the city name is Colombo. Okay. Now I am going to erase the whole thing. Then insert into earlier shoe center dot the city table, open a pair of brackets, then values, close the pair of, open another pair of brackets, then end it with a semicolon. And you have to mention the column name. Column name is, so you have to mention it in capital, city underscore name. Then the value which is going to be in the column is candy. Okay. Press F9 once you are done. Okay, now we have the second column. Okay, so I'll just erase the whole thing again and write the next data, insert into earlier shoe center dot, then our table is city and open pair of brackets, then values, another pair of brackets, then semicolon. Okay, our column name is city underscore name. Then our data which is going to be inside the column is Kurunagal. Then press F9. Okay. So let's just check whether all this data are entering. Okay. Next off, insert into earlier underscore shoe center dot the city table and open a pair of brackets, then values, another pair of brackets, then a semicolon. Then we have to give the column name, that is city underscore name. Then our value is Madale. Okay. Erase the whole thing. Then our final data is insert into earlier shoe center, then open a pair of brackets, then values, another pair of brackets, then close it. Next, the column name, then the data. Okay, so here we have to mention the table. Okay, now the last data has been entered. Next we have to enter data onto the gender table. Our second question is done. Now we have to select the gender table. So I am going to erase the whole thing. So insert into. So still the gender table is inside the inside our database. Early issue center dot the gender table and values, another pair of brackets, then a semicolon. Okay. So our column name is, just maximize this. Okay, so our column name is gender name. I'll just show you the question again. So the column name is gender name, and our first data is male. So once I press F9, and when you check the gender table here, okay, now I open the gender table. Now we have our first gender entered to the table. Okay, so our next gender, insert into the database, then the gender table, values, and the column name is gender underscore name, and my column name is my data is female. Okay. Now once I give it a refresh, the second data has been entered like this. Okay, so creating the entering data onto the gender table was successful, and that is the end of the third question. Okay, moving on to the fourth question. So in this question we have to enter a lot of data. So let's see how we are going to do that. So I just have to insert data like this. Insert into earlier shoe center. Here we have to enter data onto the user table. So dot user, then leave a small space, then user table, open a pair of brackets, then values, another pair of brackets, then close it. Then we have to give the column names here and the data here. So let's see our column names. So user ID we don't have to do anything because that's an auto increment column. So first name, last name, contact number, status, user type ID, the address ID, and the gender table. So we have entered data onto these two columns. These two columns we have entered data. These are reference tables, but we haven't entered data onto the address tables and status table. So first we have to do those stuff. So let's see how we are going to do that. So first let's keep this as it is. Let's just keep this as it is. Then we'll try filling data onto the address table first. Okay. So I'm going to just erase this one. Then insert into earlier shoe center, dot the address table, pair of brackets, values, another pair of brackets, then a semicolon. Then our first column name will be its address ID is an auto increment column. Then I have to give the number. Then next column is street 1, street 1. Just take a peek at the address table. Street underscore 1. Next, street underscore 2. Then the next column must be the city ID. City underscore ID. Okay. Now let's take a look at the values. So there should be 4 values. 4 values. That means the number, street ID 1, 2, 3, 4. So there should be 4 values. So what are these values? Number 5 upon 2. Number 5 upon 2. Number 5 upon 2. Then we have to give this just copy this text like this, then paste it here. This text like this, paste it here, and the city ID is 2. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, now I have pressed F9. Now our data has been entered to the address table. Okay, likewise we have to enter data like this. So let's see. So what we have to do, we have to erase the whole thing. Insert into earlier shoe center dot address table brackets values, another pair of brackets, and semicolon. Now column names, first one is number, then street underscore 1, then street underscore 2, then street underscore, okay, the other one is the city underscore ID. Okay, next we have to look at the data. First data, number 104F, then next data, I have block down, then next one, I have block word, then city ID should be 1. Okay, once I give it a refresh, the next data has been entered. Okay, so we just have to erase the whole thing, then repeat again. So insert into earlier shoe center dot address table, then pair of brackets, values, another pair of brackets, then semicolon. I have to give the column name. So number, street underscore 1, street underscore 2, then the city ID. Now comes the values. So we have to give space for 4 values. So number 34, Next one, Bautaloka Road. The next data, Bautaloka Road again. And city ID should be 3. Let's take a check. Okay, now we have the final row. Now we have to erase the whole thing, then repeat it again. Insert into earlier shoe center dot address table, open pair of brackets, values, another pair of brackets, in a semicolon. Number, street underscore 1, street underscore 2, then the city ID. Okay. Leave 4 spaces for the data. So number 35, next one, Vote Cities shopping mall. Next one, Maryboy Road. Just copy that, paste it here. And the next one, 5, city ID is 5. Now this again, and let's check the data table. Now we have the next column like this. Okay, now we are going to enter data to the next row. Insert into earlier shoe center dot the address table, open pair of brackets, values, another pair of brackets, then a semicolon, and you have to give the column names. Street underscore 1, street underscore 2, then the city underscore ID. We have to give the data onto the table, so we'll give 4 spaces like this because we have 4 data onto 4 columns. So copy this text, number 550. Next data, King Street. Then Trincomalee Road. Then last we have number 4 as the city ID. So let's run this. Okay. Okay, now we have successfully entered data onto the address table like this. Okay. Next we have to enter. So our 5th part is done. Now we have to do the 6th part. Then we can enter data onto the user table because all these city IDs and address IDs and gender IDs, all those are in different tables, so we have to fill them first if you are going to enter data onto this table right here. Okay. So here what's going to happen, I am going to enter data onto the system login table. So I will open another query tab, then insert into earlier shoe center, then leave a dot and system login, open a pair of brackets, then values, another pair of brackets, then a semicolon. Now in the system login table we have 3 separate columns which you should enter data. This login ID column is an auto increment column. That means you don't have to enter data, it will automatically start from 1 then keep on increasing. And just have to give the column names and leave 3 spaces to enter data onto the columns that we have mentioned here. Okay, our first column is the username, then the other one is the password, and the other one is the user ID. Okay, so my first data is Tilan, username is Tilan, then his password is Tilan@070, then his user ID is 1. Okay, so there's an error here. Let's see what's the error. Okay, we can't enter data onto this table first because here we have the user ID. So in the user table we haven't entered the data. So that means we have to first enter data onto this column. So the system login table has to wait. We have to first enter data onto the user table. Okay, so let's enter data onto the user table. Just share the screen like this. Okay, so insert into earlier shoe center dot the user table and our values and end with a semicolon. So here we have to leave space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. 7 columns. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And we have to enter data 7 times. 4, 5, 6 and 7. So our first column name is first name. First underscore name, then last underscore name, then we have the contact number, then we have the status, and next we have the user type underscore ID, underscore type underscore ID. Next we have the address ID, address underscore ID. Next we have the last gender ID. So now we have to pick up the data to these columns. So first name is Tilan and last name Dinul. Next one, contact number is contact number. Then these columns are just 1, so just leave them with 1, 1, 1, 1 and 1. Okay, so I run the query. Let's see what has happened. Okay, now data has been entered accordingly. Okay, we have to enter data like this. So next one will be, just have to erase the whole thing. So insert into earlier shoe center dot user table values in a semicolon, and have to give the column names. There are 7. Okay, 7 columns are done. Now we have to the data. Okay, so first column name is the first name, first underscore name, then last underscore name, then the contact number, contact underscore name, so contact number, status, then the user underscore type underscore ID, the user type ID, then the address ID and the gender table. Address underscore ID and the gender underscore ID. Okay, now comes the data. First data, second one, the contact number should be, I think this is printed differently. I'll just give mine. And next we have 1221, 1221. Okay, let's refresh the page. Now we have the second row entered like this. Okay, next we have data like this. So I just quickly enter this data, and let's move on to the next question after I enter this data like this. Okay guys, I have entered all this data which is in this question, that is question number 4. In question number 4 I explained how I entered data onto the first 3 rows. So in the same way I entered all this data to the user table. Now as the last question we have to do the 6th question. Now that we have entered data onto the user table, now we have the user ID column field. We can fill the user ID column. Now we have to we have to enter data onto that table. So insert into, we have to mention the database name, earlier shoe center dot the system login. Then you have to pair of brackets, values, another pair of brackets. Then we have 3 columns. Then I have to give the column names, username, password and user ID. Username, password and user underscore ID. So first username is Dilan and his password is Dilan070. Then user ID is 1. Okay, let's see. Okay, now let's look at the system login table. Okay, now our data has been entered. So this should be 1. Okay, our next data is, I'll just write the query again. Insert into earlier shoe center dot the system login, values and semicolon. Next, grade essence Okay, 3 is enough. Okay, so first username, password and user ID. Okay. Then the username is Amanda and password is Amanda at hashtag 682. User ID is 6. Okay, let's refresh this. Okay, now this should be 2. Okay, now we have entered all this data in the 6th question also, and also that is the end of the 34th question. So we have completed question number 34, and so I will meet you guys in the next video, that is question number 35. So hoping you guys watch that video. That will be a special video. So I'll meet you guys then. Bye guys.